Let me guess, you think there's nothing easier and better than shooting video on a smartphone. No focus pulling, no manual white balance setting, video has a nice quality, almost like those big and heavy cameras, and the price tag is way more pleasant, but it's only a part of the truth. In fact, to make good smartphone videos, you have to know some things. This video is going to be your basic knowledge list, and also there's going to be a few life hacks. I'm going to show everything on an iPhone, but these can be applied to any model of smartphone. Let's get going. 1. Manual settings for video are a win-win in most situations. I bet you've seen some cases when a video is normal, but then suddenly it becomes too blue or too yellow, or maybe it becomes too bright or unfocused. Right, that's when you need to remember about manual settings. If you're a newbie or just don't want to learn all of those, you can at least use your camera app features when you need them. For example, you can touch your finger somewhere on the screen and the phone will focus on that object. Slide your finger up or down. There you go, the picture becomes brighter or darker. If you will keep your finger on the screen a little longer, exposure and focus will be fixed on that particular object. Focus won't change and the picture will not become brighter or darker over time. But that sadly doesn't fix the white balance. To solve this problem, we need a non-default camera app on an iPhone, or maybe just manual mode in your camera app if you're on Android. In any case, I'll leave recommended apps in the description. What you need to know is there are a few presets for white balance, for example tungsten lamp or cloudy day. Pick one according to your shooting conditions and go ahead. If everything looks bad, of course you can pick a manual one, which you like more. Even if it won't be perfect, it's better to have one giant slightly off-balanced shot than when the balance changes every few seconds. Believe me, you will suffer trying to fix that in post. As for manual focus, you'll need that when your subject is sitting in place but moving in moderately dark conditions, or if autofocus in your smartphone simply sucks. That happens. Also, non-default apps often will let you pick bitrate, which means videos with advanced quality. Don't be afraid to use them. 2. Shutter speed is very treacherous and you have to watch it all the time. What is shutter speed? Videos like photos are based on three things: aperture, shutter speed and ISO. Aperture is an opening that light passes through. If it's wide open, you have more light and your background is blurred. If it's not, we got the opposite. But you can't change the aperture in nearly any smartphone, so it's not so important. The most important things are shutter speed and ISO. What is a video? It's a bunch of photos that change with high speed, and the shutter speed is literally how much speed it takes to make one frame of the video. If you have more time for light passing, there's a lighter picture, but everything becomes more blurry, and vice versa. But there's a life hack for video shutter speed. It should be 2 times your frames per second. For example, 30 frames means 1/60th of the second would look perfectly natural. You can pick a higher shutter speed, maybe 1/1000th of a second, but never lower, or you'll have a famous drunk body effect. You should also consider that different frame rates work better for different situations. 30 is great for a talking head YouTube video, and 60 works great with Let's Plays and dynamic sport videos. Almost all movies are shot at 24 FPS though, but there's a catch. If you live in a European region, your light might strobe at any shutter speed except 1/50th or maybe 100th. If that's your case, consider using 25 FPS for a perfect look with 1/50th shutter speed. And that's another reason for using a non-default app. ISO is a simple thing though, it's an artificial brightening of the picture. Basically, it's best to keep it at the lowest number possible, that way you'll get a nice picture. Crank it up and you'll get consequences. The bigger the number, the more noise you'll have. Of course, sometimes it's better to have a usable picture with some noise than something too dark. 3. High FPS messes with the quality. Your phone is pretty smart. It knows about FPS and shutter speed rule and can considers it in most situations. That's why when you pick 60 FPS, it changes shutter speed. There's less light for every frame, ISO cranks up more, therefore quality is worse. So in darker conditions, it's better to use 30 or even 24 frames per second. 4. Hold it steady. Yeah, of course, maybe you're the next Cameron or Tarantino, but now you have your phone and nothing more. No special hardware, no cranes, no stabilizers, no robots. So if you don't know how to move your camera, or should you move it at all, just don't. You'll see that usual static video from one point will most likely look better. 5. Take your power bank with you. Shooting video on a smartphone consumes a hell of a lot of power, so it's never a bad idea to have a backup power source. 6. Don't shoot in 4K if it doesn't matter. The thing is, most phones shoot better in 1080p than in 4K. If you shoot for Instagram and not going to crop your video, keep it at 1080. You'll get better quality, less noise and better stabilization, not to mention it will consume way less memory of your phone. 7. Don't make editing mistakes. Actually, I probably need to make a whole other video about editing. Want me to do it? Leave a like. But now I'm talking about the simplest mistakes. Your video is 1080p and 30 FPS, don't make your project 4K at 60. Use the same settings which you used for your main material or most of your material. But what if you have some files with 50 FPS, for example from a stock? You can simply conform or interpret your footage. You can do that in nearly every non-linear editor. If you won't do that, video will stutter every few seconds, and it's not a pleasant thing. Also, you probably like slow motion, but did you know it's best to divide or multiply speeds by 2, 4, 8, 16, etc.? The thing is, if it aligns perfectly with your FPS, it's going to look good, but if you divide 120 FPS by 3, it's not going to align in your project well, and some parts will be stuttery too. 8. Don't forget about the sound. Sound is more than 50% of success in terms of technical things in your video. If it has a voiceover or a talking head, you can screw up your video and have perfect audio, but not the other way around. Always think about the sound first. I'm using Rode Wireless Go for Instagram videos, and for YouTube it's Rode NT1A. 9. Buy a camera. In the end, if you know you can afford a better camera and your phone doesn't play well with darker conditions, or maybe you want a film look, go and buy a camera, but only after everything else. Lights, microphones, background stuff, all of that plays the most important part. You can make an amazing video with good light and bad camera, but not the other way around. And if you're going to spend a lot of money on a camera, remember that most of the film look comes from the lens, so it's better to invest more in the lens than in the camera. That's it! Leave a like if you learned something new. Write me in the comments if you have a few more life hacks or advices for smartphone videos, like for example, don't forget to clean your lens often. We make videos from Slav with love, so go and subscribe. Stay tuned, bye!